welcome back to my channel. As always, I'm so excited to be sharing with you another edition on my channel about like self-growth and motivation and just being the best version and the highest expression of yourself. And today is no different. We'll be talking about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is the imposter syndrome. I find that so many of us, especially in our 20s, we deal with imposter syndrome, but we're not really dealing with it. Like, we know that it's there, but we just have absolutely no idea as to how to perhaps even first recognize it and then what to do with it. So without further ado, let's talk about imposter syndrome and how we can deal with it. Let's get started. So guys, let's actually define what imposter syndrome is. And according to Google, imposter syndrome is also known as imposter phenomenon, fraud syndrome, or the imposter experience, is a concept describing individuals who are marked by an inability to internalize their accomplishments and a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. Now, that sounds pretty much like how I felt last year. I've always felt this like, am I like supposed to be where I'm supposed to be? And I think it also came with the fact that I had moved to a new country, and standards and like way of communicating in a corporate sense is different. You know, I'm also around people who are from other countries and their standards of education are different. So you're always like, am I enough? Am I like dumb? Am I, you know, smart enough to answer this? When you're in a meeting and you're dealing with like a vice president or, you know, the CFO, and you're just like, am I even answering this question correctly? Am I supposed to contribute correctly? I mean, am I contributing appropriately? And all of those things, and it's constant second guessing yourself. And I think like imposter syndrome is even more intensified, but in the sense that you feel like a fraud. You feel like you haven't really internalized your accomplishments. And it's strange because one of the reasons why I left South Africa to come to the United States is because I felt like just being a chartered accountant wasn't enough. Like, I just felt like it was just nothing. And that I didn't realize that is actually not a good thing to have, where you just brush aside all your accomplishments. It takes minimum 7 years to be a chartered accountant. It's definitely not for the weak. It's difficult. It's not an easy designation to have, and it requires a lot of dedication, it requires a lot of hard work, and it requires some level of intelligence. And so I think I just figured like, it's just nothing, that I didn't really internalize the fact that no, you actually did work hard and you did put in the hours. You are smart and you are worthy and credible of being in the place that you're there for. It's not a mistake, you know, everything is on purpose and it's intentional. And there were so many processes that were in place to get to put you in the position that you are. So stop second guessing yourself. But it went on for months, to a point where I didn't even know if I was sending the right emails. Like, it was that bad. And I think it was because I wasn't really internalizing that I am good enough and that I am credible and I am worthy. And I think a lot of us don't do that. We tend to just listen to the negative side of our minds, and we entertain that longer and more persistently than we do the positive sides and the good accomplishments. And I think it's perhaps human nature to always be negative about things, to always just think the worst possible scenario instead of the best possible scenario, and we just tend to have very negative thoughts about ourselves. So what I have been doing lately, and it has helped my confidence, you know, shoot up a million times, is just saying, you know, you did a very good job over there in terms of dealing with a client in this manner, or, you know, you really were quite good at doing the spreadsheet, and if you wouldn't have been able to do it if you didn't have the know-how and you didn't have the intelligence and the understanding to get there. So once you reinforce the very things that your negative mind was like, well, if you were reinforcing the opposite of what your negative mind keeps telling you, eventually you come to some form of an equilibrium. But it takes a lot of work, and it takes you being very conscious about what you're about to do. If you are not conscious about the negativity that has been said to you subconsciously, if you're not like bringing it up and saying, I'm actually being negative, I'm actually not reinforcing goodness about myself, then you're going to fall into the slump, and then eventually imposter syndrome persists. So to get out of it, you basically have to do the opposite. It's a little harder, but you need to get to a point where you are reinforcing very good and positive notions about yourself. So that's how I have been able to deal with imposter syndrome. It's not perfect. There are so many times I catch myself saying, wow, that has been so negative. You've never said anything nice about yourself today. Like, what is wrong with you? And then I have to like reel it back and say, you are worthy of being here. You are credible of being here. You are smart enough, just like everyone else. And you have something important and positive to contribute. You are not doing any sort of like random, people are not doing you favors for you being here. Like, you are worthy of this position that you are in, and you can contribute. You are important. And if you're constantly telling yourself that, eventually you believe that, a little bit of self-confidence comes together, and before you know it, you are delivering at the very best level that you should be doing. So I hope that this mini video has helped you, just make you feel more comfortable and feeling more confident in being able to deal with imposter syndrome. It's really just a simple mind trick that you constantly need to do. Let me know in the comments below what you have been doing to help deal with imposter syndrome, and whether you've had imposter syndrome and how long it's happened, or how long the duration has been, and how you've been able to deal with it. Because this is a little community, and I want, for all of us to help one another. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, remember that your dreams are valid. I love you. Bye.